Hey everybody, welcome to Speed Bump. This is the preliminary race of Magic Castle, a really good game that we've been looking at this week. We
Having
actually
a lot
have
of fun with it.
a couple world records showed up. One person who was not in the community was doing them. They had sub 20. Darkman beat that one recently with a wizard run in 1541. I don't know what's involved in the speed run exactly. I think there's a lot of non-race strats employed. I don't think we're going to see a lot of the same. I think they grinded out really good RNG that I don't think you're going to have time for in the speed run. You're going to be able to control it a little bit, but I don't think you're going to be able to get sub 20 as reliably as it sounds.
I'm kind of expecting our best racers to come in around the 20-25 minute mark. It's been really impressive to see how good everyone's been at it. I've played this one a lot more than I played most of our week's games, and
Yeah.
I am not as good at this game as most of them are.
I actually had beaten it 6 times now, I think, myself. I have beaten it with every character, and I beat it on hard mode to get the full save, which I dropped in there. If you're curious, if you want to play multiplayer or something, that's an option. That's an unlock for some reason, but I unlocked it. You have to beat everything, and then you have to beat the unlocks that unlock. And once you've done that, then you get versus mode, which is in there now. And co-op is ready out the gate, so co-op is always there. No one's done a co-op run that I know of yet. That would be interesting.
For sure.
Well, we have 4 racers here. If they're all ready to go, we can load it up. Here we go.
Alright, well, I'm going to queue them up for the race.
I got the clock ready. I got Gaffadil's audio going currently. So needless to say, we have plenty of information to talk about during this race, which I expect will be over in 30 minutes or so if the players are experienced at it. Less than I thought. I thought this would be a tough one because after playing it for a couple hours, I had trouble winning, but I don't have trouble winning anymore. I feel like I can reliably get a good run going at this point myself, and I'm not as trained as some of these other players probably are getting.
Alright, I'm giving them the countdown, just waiting on Moonberry to get to the character selection screen.
Yeah. Just like any roguelike, once you know the rules, things get a lot smoother real quick. I'll bump this up myself.
Alright, I've given them the go, so we should see them starting any moment.
Clock's on.
Looks like we've got an interesting spread. You know, the world record right now is Wizard, but they're not picking Wizard. Fighter is probably a much more consistent class. Interesting to see Eric's going Archer.
Yep. So that's something I wanted to talk about first, is the most obvious problem. What class do you play? And I think my what I've determined is that I felt like Knight would be one of the safe ones, but Knight actually seems like the worst choice. For a couple of reasons. They are the class that needs gear. No one else does. The Knight does. The Knight needs a sword. If you don't find that sword, they're garbage. They are just trash. The fighter doesn't need a damn thing, but if they do find their weapon, they can stun lock the enemy. They're the only one that can. No one else can do that like they can. Like, everyone else can hit the enemy 4 times, they get off the ground, they get some iframes. But the fighter can pick them up during those iframes and throw them. And so you can.
The fighter can pick up during anything. The fighter can pick up during their death fade out to cancel them dying.
Yeah, that has priority over everything. They can just grab the boss out of a teleport move that they do. Like, everything.
I would not be surprised if you could grab a ghost.
You can do whatever you want. So right now we see Gaffadel, and we hear Gaffadel grabbing, so you can talk to the bookcase, get a bunch of scrolls for free, and you can use those scrolls to turn them into any spell you want. And they've just gone ahead and gotten themselves like 10 spells. The spells are very good. The warp scroll will get you gear. You do get sent back to floor 1 for that, so right now is a good time to do it. You also get a bunch of thunder scrolls and stuff maybe if you want, and those are very strong, but all the other spells they're all useful. I think thunder scroll, somebody said like 9 of those would win the fight, final boss fight.
Yeah. They do a pretty good amount of damage, right? It's like 50 damage to everything within range.
Yeah. The fire scroll lights the room on fire and stun locks the enemies forever. It never goes out. What else is there? There's the geyser that hits every enemy for a bit and shoves them away, and then there's the drain, which steals HP from every enemy in the room. So all the
There's no real requirement to like level up, but it sounds like from just sort of hearing people discuss the numbers, level 15 is about what your target is for the end of the run. That gives you the best balance of amount of time it takes grinding and amount of time it takes to actually kill the final boss.
So we were talking about classes. I did say, oh, there's the geysers. I did say that, well, I probably should talk about that since it's happening right now. They are throwing the empty scrolls onto a water trap, and that's how the geyser scroll is made. They're all something like that. I don't know that geyser is the one they want really, but it's something. It's still pretty good. I don't think it's the best spell, but it's going to be helpful.
It's useful. The problem is that in order to get Thunder Scroll, you have to fulfill fairly specific requirements. You have to throw it on top of a short pillar in one of the Thunder rooms, which is like floors, I think 16 and 18 is what I saw.
Yeah.
So it'll be a long time until they have access to that, and it might just be reasonable to get these geyser scrolls now and then get more scrolls later.
The nice thing is that though you do have like 8 inventory slots, the scrolls stack into one, so you can have as many as you want. So they just have 11 geyser scrolls. It's just, you know, that's a pretty good place to be for Gaffadil right now.
One thing that's worth pointing out is that the scrolls that Gaffadil got are a random drop chance when you read the bookshelves. They're using auto fire in order to speed that up. We've tried to be pretty good about on Speed Bump promoting accessibility as much as possible. Otherwise, there's still a really serious benefit to being good at mashing, and that can be pretty hard on your hands. So they're using auto fire to just get basically a ton of scrolls off of the bookshelves.
Yep. Oh, if you're dying to ghosts, no worries. That's the way this game is. The ghosts are very mean at the start of the game. They are meant to be ran from. They're Pac-Man ghosts at the start of the game. You don't mess with them.
I'm barely willing to be in a room with ghosts at the end of the game.
It
doesn't get a ton better.
There's a point where the defense is 1-to-1 for damage, so there's a point where the ghost hits for like 30, no longer hits for anything, hits for 1. There is a point where that happens, but until it does, you don't want to mess with those things. What else to say here? The classes, actually the knight being the worst is not a surprise to me anymore, but the archer surprisingly is good. The world record holder until we came along was using the archer, and it makes sense when I watch what's going on. The archer's very strong start. They're safe. They're real range. They're not fake range like the wizard is. They have actual distance on their shots. And so they don't really have any upgrades to the skills. They're only missing one thing. It's piercing shots, and even that requires mana, so you might not even want that. But if they find the right bow, pretty fast and not ever in any danger at all because of the range. So the
archer is extremely unique in that both of the bow upgrades are actually downgrades to attack power. They just get faster or other benefits to them.
Yeah, that's
but your starting bow is really good. It's remarkably good. Most characters only deal like 1 point of damage to most enemies at the beginning of the game. The archer's already dealing 3 damage from the very beginning, and the thing that makes these runs end so quickly is that almost everyone has very short range, so enemies will just, you know, body check you and take out a ton of your health and kill you pretty quickly. So having that kind of range and having pretty good control over it, it's not just a direction. You can really aim those arrows in any direction you want to, and they're pretty forgiving about how they land. The archer is really, really good in the early game. The only problem is if you don't get the right equips, you don't get the right level ups early on, then you're going to be dealing very little damage against bosses.
Yeah, so they do lose damage for their upgrades on the bows, but they do get attack speed, and then after attack speed they get piercing. So those are the two things. And when I say attack speed, I mean like 3 times as fast. So in most cases, they're big upgrades, but right now we're seeing them do 1 damage to the boss, and that's the problem the archer runs into is can they conquer that wall? Because if they can't overtake the defense of the enemy, you don't want to be hitting the final boss for 1. He has like 400 HP. Take all day. That's what's happening with the Black Knight right now, and it's gonna be trouble here. They have 100 HP on the Black Knight, so that's game. The archer killed Eric's.
On Gaffadil's screen, the little thing that's flying above his character's head is a fairy. That can be turned off in the options menu. Its only real value is that if you jump into it, it'll put the camera very high up so you can see above you more easily. I think it's supposed to be like a quality of life thing if you're not using analog controls to do camera movement, but it's more a pain than anything if you have analog controls.
Zoing all characters would be an interesting run. I don't know how long it would take. Right now I'm worried that no one will finish just because they might have bad luck. Like, I think most of the players have died once already. Has Moonberry died?
I'm not sure. The characters changing colors is what armor they're wearing. So you'll find equipment in these chests. For different characters, it'll be boots, it'll be weapons, it'll be armor. For the fighter, the outfit that they're wearing changes what color their character is.
The wizard has probably the most miserable of all starts, but they have a lot of end game power. And the world record probably, I did watch it. I'm banking that they found a really good weapon early. I can't remember for sure, but if they do find the weapon early, they can just roll straight towards the bosses of the rooms and obliterate them. They just have such good boss killing power that they can just wipe them out without much else. So the wizard's got that going for it. It's got end game strength. If you can get over this hump at the start, they are very good. Fastest boss killer.
This race is going kind of the way I expected it would. I didn't think that everyone was going to obviously clear it on their first attempt. This game can be kind of punishing, and it's all about sort of mitigating that randomness and that poor fortune. So, you know, the fact that they're still toughing it out, making good progress, that's nice to see. The question is how much that gets in their head, right? Like, if you have a decent run going and you have to start over, do you start like prioritizing, I just need to blow through rooms, I need to get to floor 20 as quickly as possible, or do you still take the sort of slower approach of making sure that you're leveled up appropriately?
Yeah, a game like this, you have to determine how high your level's going to be, but I thought it would be an interesting strategy check because it's racing or roguelike. That's always interesting. There's always a lot going on. Their level matters a lot. It's very, very important. But you don't want to grind too much. Obviously, that's a big waste of time. You're racing here, so you have to find that balance at some point. I feel like if you eliminate the enemies you run into on the way through and don't skip too much, you won't take too long, and you'll probably be in the neighborhood of where you want to be. But if you're under-leveled and you're doing 1 damage to the final boss, like you will be with the archer if you're under-leveled or using the wrong weapon, that's bad. That's not gonna happen. I mean, you can lock up the boss for sure, but it's gonna take like 5 minutes to kill it if you're doing 1 damage.
Yeah. A small mercy in this game is that the requirements in order to spawn the key that takes you to the next level are different in every single level. And for specifically a handful of the floors, the requirement to spawn the key is to kill a certain number of enemies. So there's really no avoiding a certain amount of leveling up. The question is, do you go above and beyond, right? When you see that key drop, do you stick around and kill a few more enemies, look for more chests, or do you just take it and go? If you think that you are going to be able to get the Thunder Scrolls that you need or something like that, then maybe it's not as important, but I don't know, it's always such a big risk, and your glass cannon, if you keep going further and further without leveling up appropriately, it's very easy to just get basically instantly killed.
Yeah, it really is.
Into a room like this one.
Literally can be killed in 1 hit by enemies in this game until you cross a certain threshold, and in a race you might not ever crush that threshold. When I was trying to do this on some of the challenge modes, there are always enemies who can wipe you out in one swing because you're just underleveled.
Yeah, I really enjoyed playing the Escape the Flames mode, which is where you have to get through 20 floors in 5 minutes. The key is already spawned, you don't have to kill anything. But the problem is that, you know, by the time you're on floor 20 and you've got halfway decent gear, the enemies can easily one-shot you because you don't have time to stop and get any levels, so you're really weak.
The fighting boots there for Gaffadil's fighter will allow him to jump off of the walls as well as take no fall damage, no stun on fall. Very nice. The there's a lot of abilities like that on gear. Like the wizard gets witch boots that let them fall and not take fall damage, also move faster.
Yeah, I think the only character that doesn't negate fall damage is it's one of them. Is it Archer doesn't? Yeah, Archer doesn't ever negate fall damage. But if you get the boots for Fighter, which all of our players are playing Fighter now, by the way, if you didn't notice, Eric's switching off of Archer. If they get the Fighter boots, they never have to worry about... I keep saying fall damage. You don't take any damage from it. It's fall stun.
Oh, that's worse, though.
Yeah, that makes you just openly vulnerable to taking massive damage from enemies.
Being able to jump down without looking... like, you can land on the enemy heads, so typically, if you don't take fall stun, you can just do that without much risk at all.
These treasure rooms in the basement, I don't know exactly how treasure is sort of allocated in this game, but it feels like the quality of the treasure in the basement is always way better than anything else that you might get. Oh wow, Eric's almost had a rough time with that Black Knight. You know, the basement is pretty much guaranteed to get you fully geared up pretty quickly. So
they did have a rough time, but they have a res.
Oh, thank goodness.
There is.
Yeah, you have to be really careful with some of these knights. The Black Knights in particular will do the down stab on you. I mean, other characters or other enemies will do the same thing, but
yeah, they have the knights boots that let them triple jump. So now he's doing the throwing stunlock. So yeah, this is it. I mean, you can just do this if you do it right. If it's done properly, you can just pick him up.
I think he's having a little bit of trouble lining it up, and I think he's afraid that he's gonna mistime it or something, which is a totally reasonable fear, you know, after just getting killed. And then another thing you'll notice Eric just did is he transitioned out of the room and back in. The reason for that is that in this game, when you walk out of a door, you get about 2 seconds of invulnerability. The devs wanted to make sure that you didn't walk into a room of skeletons and just instantly die. And you can actually exploit that to your benefit. You know, if you really are up against a mob of enemies that you can't handle, you can just keep transitioning in and out of the doorway.
So, I wanted to talk about the enemies there. The Black Knight with his 100 HP, he was stun locking Eric's, but Eric's was using items while stunned, and that's something you can do. This game punishes greed real hard. If you think that you can sit on an item and you die for it, you really feel bad. You have full heal potions galore in this game, and if you don't use them, you're gonna have a worse time than if you just...
I had a rough time my first day trying to hold on to items with that RPG mentality. And once I realized that you should just burn through every item you have, screw it, who needs it, I started doing a lot better. If you're playing this, if you're trying this out yourself or considering participating for Speed Bump, and you're really having a hard time clearing this game, you're most likely having a problem with remembering to use your restoratives. They are a resource to be burned into the ground.
The thing is that there's 2 types of potions in this game. Well, there's 4, but it's really, are they health or mana, or are they both? But between that, there's 2 sizes of potion. They're either they heal 15, which is nothing, or they heal everything, which is everything. It's just everything. They heal everything.
Yeah, I think the large potions are 100, but like most characters don't ever go above 100 by very much. So it's almost always a full restorative. And the price, like if you're gonna buy them out of the fountain, the price increase is not enough to really be worth ever buying a mini potion, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's like 40 cents for the heal everything, including mana, just full heal. So you can end up very easily, if you're playing casually, you could end up like 8 of those, just full heals. And so, you know, that's 8 lives of... You're not gonna die if you use those, if you use them. Here we see Moonberry locking up the boss with the throw. Very nice. That's the way it's done.
Yeah, you don't have to be strong if you can pull off this this trick. The only boss that this stun lock is less effective against, not ineffective, but less effective, is the final boss, and that's only because when the final boss takes damage, it sometimes teleports around, but you can still sort of grab it out of the teleport, so it's not that bad.
Yeah, you can grab the final boss out of its down stab 10 feet above you. It still gets grabbed. It doesn't care. It grabs them everywhere. I will say that the throw's weakness is when a second enemy shows up, like the ghost there. They had to retreat, and, you know, I would have done the same thing. You can't grab 2 enemies very easily. You can throw them into each other, but not the ghost.
You can also notice if you keep watching Moonberry, Moonberry doesn't have any soul points right now, but if they get more soul points, they occasionally have been using that Ring of Power. Its name is a little bit misleading because you might think it makes you do more damage, but the Ring of Power's ability is that when you enable it, it drains your soul points, but while it's active, you don't take any damage. So it's really effective against these bosses that can really interrupt you pretty badly and deal massive amounts of damage. If you're willing to keep it active, you can tank anything because you're invulnerable.
Yeah, that's something to talk about, is the SP bar for the fighter and the knight has no value whatsoever until you put our ring on, so you gotta pick some ring. You gotta...
Yeah.
There's 3, I think. There's one that makes you shoot fire when you swing, which is not too bad.
It adds the fire aspect to all of your abilities and gives you a little more attack power.
There's the Ring of Power that you were just talking about that's just iframes until you're out of mana. And then there's the Ring of Life, which is just... It heals you. It's not instant. It basically, whenever you take damage, a second after you take damage, it drains your mana and puts it into your health. It's an auto heal ring.
So it effectively gives you 2 health bars. Your SP bar becomes a second health bar, which actually goes back to what Smite was talking about before, the different types of potions. It really makes the HS potions, the ones that heal both health and soul points, it makes them a double restorative at that point.
Yeah. I was very, very specific about how that ring works because it's not instant. That means you do not you can't take like 100 damage, and if you have 90 health and 50 mana, you'll be dead. You'll die for that because it won't instantly heal you. It does heal you. It needs a break. Like if you took a 50 and then waited a second and then took 50 more, you'd be okay. But if you took 100 in that situation, you'd be dead because that ring heals you. It doesn't block the damage.
Looks like Moonberry's getting close. I can't tell exactly what floor they're on, but it's a lightning floor, which means that it's 16 or 18. So we're getting near floor 20, which is the goal here. On floor 20, that's where the Blue Knight spawns. Okay, so that was 16, so now Moonberry's on 17. On floor 20 is the first time that the Blue Knight spawns. If you kill the Blue Knight, the Gold Knight appears. The Gold Knight is the Warlock, the boss of this game. And if you kill the Warlock, you get credits. That's our player's target right now.
Yeah.
You can actually go beyond floor 20. That's possible, but if you do that, then you have to hope on future floors that the Blue Knight spawns. And I'm not sure whether or not it's guaranteed that it spawns on every floor after floor 20.
Oh, it's definitely not. No way. I went to floor like 70 before I saw it, and that's just bad luck, I guess. But I think the odds are pretty low that you'll see it again for a while if you skip it.
Yeah, the last run that I did, I accidentally hit the key on floor 20, and the Blue Knight spawned on floor 21. But I don't think there's a guarantee of anything, and so you're kind of just rolling the dice. It's guaranteed to appear on 20.
Yeah, I was confused about what the game's devs mentioned that it was 20 floors of madness or something in the description, and I'm like, I'm on floor 70, man. Where's that boss? It can happen. You don't want to skip it if you can help it. So I would actually recommend not using scrolls unless you're sure it won't hit the key, because they will activate the key. You don't want to do that on accident.
Yeah, the only one that doesn't activate the key is the fire scroll, for the specific reason that the fire doesn't count as you attacking it. It's sort of a general attack.
Looks like Moonberry's grabbing some XP here.
Yeah, it does look like there's a little bit of grinding happening. I'm not sure. They definitely checked their level. I saw them pull up the stats menu. I'm not sure what level they're at right now, though. I missed that.
You can go back to floor 1 with the warp scroll and start over, and once you get back to floor 20, the boss will be there again. I mean, you can get to him apparently on any floor after 20, but I don't know. We no longer have a guarantee of spawning him after that, so that's definitely not what you want to do for a speedrun. Moonberry has a bunch of thunder scrolls, so we're probably going to see... Oh, there's the mini golem. That's a mandatory fight. This is where the fighter's really going to shine. The only one I think... The wizard could kill this thing by now. Like, the wizard has an explosive... If you have the wand upgrade, just that golem would really be getting burned up. So that's where the wizard shines, and no one's playing the wizard.
Yeah, this combo is really, really valuable, though, because, like, for instance, the mini golem does massive amounts of damage extremely fast. So being able to lock up an enemy like this, this isn't just punching the enemy over and over. Specifically, any weapon other than the starting weapon for the fighter has the ability to grab enemies, and as we mentioned before, that has priority over everything. So if you grab an enemy, it interrupts their invincibility frames and interrupts them dying. It interrupts everything.
There's a lot of secrets in this game. We've investigated this one pretty thoroughly at this point. The Discord has that. There's a bunch of your rank in game is determined by how many of the little things you clear, including saving the fairies from an optional boss and killing the doppelgangers. Getting all the gear just happened with Moonberry, so now they're fully equipped. That's one of them.
Task promotion.
I should mention that these golems, you might have seen them hitting other enemies. They love to do that. If they kill the other enemies, you don't get XP. I think that they can kill the final boss for you, though. If you want them to. They hit pretty hard.
But then I won't get the experience for it.
That's true. This game has a hot swap thing. The quick will seems a little clunky at first, but once you realize how it works, it's pretty good. It highlights new pickups for a second, and you can use them right away. Including
or throw them away right away.
Yeah. So you pick up some junk, you can immediately toss it back out, or if you pick up a new piece of gear, you can hit the equip button on it for that 1 second of time, and you put that on, which is how Moonberry just equipped their final piece of gear there. They're grabbing some
I think Moonberry might be uncertain about their level being good enough, so they're trying to get some scrolls. Is this floor 18 that they're on right now? Because this would be an opportunity for them to get lightning scrolls, which would be really great. Otherwise, I don't think that they can get lightning scrolls on any other floor.
This game has so many weird secrets. I was trying to keep track of them all. One of the secrets, for example, standing on a pillar and punching will heal you. Stuff like that is in this, so there's a lot to track. This bookshelf spell keeping is an interesting one. You can also get warp scrolls this way. You can get any scroll this way. So since you can make your own warp scrolls, that means you can get your own full set of good gear pretty easily. If you can warp down to the basement, I mean, that's all you need to do. You're probably going to get everything down there.
So Moonberry needs to find a trap room if they want to convert those scrolls into spells.
I really like what they're doing with the power ring here. With the anytime they're in trouble, they're immortal.
Yeah, really clever use of it. Just having it ready at a moment's notice to throw on anytime they get stunned is just incredibly smart.
The Red Knight doesn't hit as hard, I don't think, as the Black Knight. Well, actually, I'm sure it does, but you just out-level it so much by this point in time. It never feels as dangerous. They have more health, though. They are different enemies. So my problem with Archer when I was doing it was absolutely that I was hitting the final boss for 1, and it seems like the speed run of it was using the middle bow, the one that pierces. They want that one for speed. They don't want the piercing bow, the magic bow, because the damage is too low probably, and also it takes
it's
mana.
great for crowd control, but it costs mana. So here's the Blue Knight on Moonberry's side. Moonberry's on floor 20. The Blue Knight's not too bad to fight, but once the Blue Knight goes down, then the Gold Knight spawns, and that fight actually is a little bit tough if you don't get them in a proper stun lock.
I don't think Moonberry wants to fight this right now. With they're hoping for a fountain or something. I think it's they only hit for 1. That means they're gonna be here for a while.
Yeah,
it's gonna be a tough battle. They can certainly do it. They gonna leave the floor? No, I don't think they want to do that. Maybe.
That's the gamble they're gonna have to go with, though. I don't think they're gonna find a whole lot interesting on this floor from the looks of the layout. So really might just be at the mercy of either chip damage for a while or going to a different floor and seeing what they can find.
Yeah, the magic bow is definitely the best bow, except for killing the final boss. Yo, can that golem do the dirty work for him? That would be awesome. Oh, they're trying to bring him in. That's what the plan looks like it is. The golem is reactive to your punch. Like when it sees that you're attacking, then it gets mad and it never stops swinging after that. This is good.
Okay, if this strategy works, it's my new favorite thing in this game.
I was wondering if this was the plan. I mean, it seems like it would work because that golem hits for a ridiculous amount of damage. Even this, the weakest golem in the game, hits for 20. Oh, it's dead though.
Oh no.
No. Hate to see it. Now there's no.
Just unlucky.
Now what are we gonna do?
I mean, ultimately, Moonberry needed to get scrolls for this to be viable. Otherwise, this is what Moonberry's going to be doing for a while. And by the way, that bat that's flying around is the hurry up and move on from this floor bat. It's your punishment for sticking around too long. You were talking about before that one thing that's really disruptive to this combo is having another enemy around. That bat will disrupt.
Yeah, it will.
That bat does almost no damage, and it's very easy to kill. But if you kill it, it comes right back. So...
Eric's is playing the archer again. They have the magic bow. They're trying not to use it because it uses up the mana. It pierces, and that doesn't sound great until you realize that also means that you can hit the bosses like 4 times at once. So it is faster. The problem is absolutely the numbers, though. It comes out, same problem that Moonberry's having. You don't want to be hitting the final boss for 1, and I think the archer is the most likely to be hitting the final boss for 1. They just don't get that much damage. So you either level up a truckload or you figure out something else. I would consult the world record, the previous world record archer play of how they won in like 18 minutes to see how the archer's done properly, because they knew what they were doing.
What is Moonberry's strategy here? Because this boss has like, what, 200-300 hit points? It's a massive amount.
I would do this. This is what I'd be doing. I'd be trying to fight it this way. I wouldn't fight it in this room, but I would absolutely stun lock him and kill him. It's time for this boss to die. That's what I'd say. It would take a while, but it will work. It's a little scary, that's all. It's just a little scary, but just don't make any mistakes, that's all. Just do a flawless wizard battle.
If you saw a large amount of damage, it might have been landing a hit on that bat flying around, because there's really not a lot.
Oof.
Oh, that was close. Moonberry's like, timeout, timeout.
5 HP. Maybe you should have to call it and go to the next floor and come back for the battle later.
Oh no, oh no.
These bats here, the blue ones, they're not dangerous. They're not friendly either. Those are leveled up. They might be enough to kill, so I wouldn't mess with those.
I think we're gonna see Moonberry take a shot at another floor. I mean, if I'm in Moonberry's shoes right now, I would say I have no other choice, right? Like, there's nothing you can do. The only other thing on the table is grinding experience off of the little red bat, and when you level up, you get a little bit of additional...
Warlock's being weird. I don't know how much damage they've done to the boss, but it would have to be... I mean, they're going for it. They're trying to brutalize the boss. Oh, they didn't make it.
Oh, God.
Hate to see that.
That's extremely rough.
We're 30 minutes in. We could have possibly had it clear by now, but no one's gotten it. Everyone's taking some hard luck. I figured this kind of thing would happen with a tough roguelike, and that's part of why I wanted to race it. This kind of game has the potential for this. Or people want to take the big risk. Absolutely, Moonberry could have just, fought the boss again on a later floor and would have been strong enough to punch for 5 or 10, and all of a sudden that boss would be over in no time at all.
Yeah, if you're not trying to speedrun this, then you're most likely going to try to just clear everything off of every floor, and by the time you get to floor 20, you are level 20. That's pretty much guaranteed if you don't rush through the floors. It's really just the balance of speedrunning something like this makes it so hard to decide what the right answer is.
I think the archer should hang on to all 3 bows. I think that the archer is not going to have a lot of equipment change for abilities, but they do have a lot of damage they have to worry about, and that's what's going to be. The archer doesn't have to worry about health because they never take any hits, so they're just going to have to. You're just going to have to be swapping back and forth. Do you want piercing shots that drain your mana? If you don't have any mana, you're going to switch to the longbow. If you're fighting some beast that's not taking any damage, then you switch to the bow you started with. It does the most damage out the gates.
Moonberry is lamenting the bad fortune in that run in the speed bump channel on your Discord.
I still feel like Archer's a really strong pick. I am worried about the boss damage though. It's a problem you're gonna have to solve.
The nice thing about it in a setting like this is that while the archer doesn't deal a lot of damage, even without dealing a lot of damage, it's seemingly pretty easy to get the boss in a stun lock, right? Because the only real power that the final boss has to kind of disrupt your plans is to teleport above you and downstab. But the archer can just stand in a doorway and pretty much negate that entirely.
Yeah, only the archer can really do that. So they can just, you set it up. I mean, you have to set it up, but it's not too hard to set up a place where you can just keep the boss pinned. If you're only doing 1 damage, you're looking at like a 100-second commitment, but you win. Yeah, it's a 100-second victory. You'll get them.
Glumbaron getting close, by the way. I don't know if you noticed, but Glumbaron is currently on floor 18.
Eric's is also pretty far in. I don't know. I think they're on floor 15 or so.
Yeah, nice to see Eric's going back to Archer. I think, you know, the more that I look at it and the more that I take in the challenge that this game poses in a race setting, I think the Archer is really the most consistent option. If the question is that you're not, if the issue is that you're not necessarily going to be able to complete every single fighter attempt on your first try, I think Archer might just be the more consistent option, right? It's safer play, and even if you get to the final boss vastly underleveled, you're still doing 1 damage, and you can still just do chip damage until the enemy's dead.
Yeah, it sucks real bad, but it will work. And I mean, if you can bring Thunder Skulls, you could just use those.
We've had a few games like this on Speed Bump where it's not necessarily about being super fast, but can you just complete it on your first try? And I think this is definitely proving to be one of those. This game is not impossible, but it's quite challenging. And we're seeing here 4 of what I would argue are probably the best players of this game in the world right now. It's still fairly new, so whatever that's worth, but 4 of the best players in the world of this game having a hard time just completing a run, just finishing a run. And I think that speaks volumes to how challenging this game really is.
Yep, they're all trying to cut it as slim as they can, and they would have been better off just getting 1 good run at a medium pace. In this case. Here's the Thunder Scroll doing work on 1,000,000 golems. The golems killing these... Oh, there's this boss. If the golems kill, you don't get the XP, but I don't think they care about that
Glumbaron's got the level to actually do enough damage to the boss.
Yeah,
Glumbaron's doing pretty good damage.
It's going to take like 20 hits of this, and they have the stun lock, so you know that's not going to be hard to do. Just gotta be careful you don't get a key on accident in here.
The problem with this, the leveling system in this game, or rather what makes it challenging to complete this effectively, is that the math, from what I've understood from reading the Discord, the math for calculating how much damage you do is quite simply just your attack power minus their defense power.
34,
nice
34.
one. Well done.
Gaffadil is also fighting the final boss, but also running into the damage problem of 1 damage.
Yep. But what I was getting at was, since the calculation's so simple, it's just basically your attack minus their defense, then there's specifically an attack power you're looking for, right? Like, you just need to get to the point where your attack power is beyond their defensive power,
yes,
and then you start doing real damage. Otherwise, you're capped at 1.
Somebody had posted those numbers, so I mean, they're consistent too. We have them. You just need to figure out what weapon you're going to be using and what level you need to be at to, I mean, you obviously want to be doing as much damage as possible, but there's a huge difference between 1 and 2. And, you know, the difference between 5 and 6 isn't so big, so if you want to be hitting for 5, you just need to get to this, and that's something you can control.
Glumbaron was entirely incredulous that they won, not realizing that everyone has been struggling evenly.
Calimax says the level is randomly statted, so you can't just level up, you need to make sure your stats are actually there. You can see what your stats are in the menu, though.
Oh, are the stats randomized? That's really crappy and interesting.
I'm surprised the magic bow is being used as much as it has been, because this bow that Eric's has on right now does a good job by itself without using mana. I don't.
I mean,
I don't know.
Gaffney's in it to win it, right? Like, it's just,
Yeah.
it's just a waiting game at this point.
I don't know that the magic bow is worth using against most, unless you're clearing out a room of like 300 enemies. Then it's worth using. But otherwise, I think the silver bow, the long bow, is the better choice.
Yeah, I was using it whenever I came up against like a wall of skeletons, but otherwise, the longbow is better.
The longbow shoots faster than both the other bows, and it has medium damage.
Yeah, it's only a few attack points lower than the default bow.
If Eric's has the levels, they could still win this over Gaffadil if they get there quick.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. It's really kind of a shame and kind of impressive, the huge upset we just had. You know, Moonberry getting to the boss first and doing a great job, and then just really finding themselves in a difficult position.
Yeah, Eric's doesn't have the longbow. They're on floor 20. They've caught up.
All right.
The Gaffadil here. How are they gonna do though? There's the boss. They hit for 7 right now on the blue knight. I think the gold knight has better armor. I'm not sure though.
Yep, 1 damage.
Who's
I'm wondering how much that fire might be helping or hurting. I can't get a good read on whether or not it's doing Gaffadil a favor or whether or not it's actually making it harder.
I think it makes it harder. I just don't. I have the grab down very well myself, and I would hate anything else messing with the enemy when I'm trying to do it. We didn't talk about it much, but we saw it once. There is a resurrection fairy item in this game. There's a longbow. The resurrection item, you automatically get full mana and health back when you die. It's very nice. They're gonna try the longbow, looks like. Let's see how that goes. No, they threw it out. They're gonna thunder scroll the boss. No, that is the longbow. Okay, they're hitting for 6. Way faster though, way more 6s coming out than the slow 7s that were coming out. So you just lose 1 damage for this attack speed. So I think this is why the longbow is the weapon. Final boss for Eric's also hitting for 1, unfortunately. Just can't beat that defense.
But can deal out ones a lot faster than the fighter can.
Yeah. And safely too, like they cannot be hurt.
And there it was. Wait, oh no, that was a geyser scroll. The
Yeah.
camera scrolling out made me think that that was the win so suddenly. Yeah, as I said, you know, these are without question 4 of the best players of Magic Castle in the world right now. And like I think the fact that they're all kind of struggling in this way just shows that this is not a trivial speed game. Whether or not they're able to easily complete the game is fine, but trying to do this fast, there's a lot of puzzle pieces that kind of have to be worked out.
I think Eric's is going to take this eventually. I think the boss is about half dead already. There's no way this boss is going to kill Eric's, so...
No. As long as Eric stays in that doorway, the one special ability that the final boss has is neutralized. The final boss cannot jump on Eric's head. The one time that we've seen the boss be able to do the teleport when someone was in a doorway, he got caught in sort of the out-of-bounds haze that slows you down so much, so
yeah,
you can just walk out of the way.
You'll never get got by that, so this is definitely locked in. And it's not even that slow, it's just, man, you definitely wish you were hitting for 2 or 3 instead of 1 if you could help it. Just 1 more level on the archer maybe would be what you need.
Yeah, fighter's a great class. It's definitely got the movement, but unfortunately, you have to be in close range with everything.
Yeah, the fighter has the jump kick that really, definitely they have the best move speed, no doubt about it. And I think that's part of their big sell. That's why I thought they were probably the ones. And when I saw that they could stun lock the boss without really anything, they could just, that's big too. Those 2 things really make the fighter look really good. So it's hard, there, Eric's done it, 40-57.
Fantastic.
I wouldn't be surprised to see any of the classes win this. I think Knight is the least likely. because
I'm really excited to see the class selection on the 31st. You know, when it comes time to race, Archer is not going to win out over, like, one Archer run is not going to win out over one Fighter run, I don't think. But if you're just anticipating other people might struggle with Fighter, you know, if you practice with it a little bit, Archer's pretty much guaranteed one shot.
It's hard for me to say that the Knight is going to take anything when, if you're looking for gear, the Wizard benefits more. Like, the Knight gets a really fast attack. It's still not as fast as that bow. It hits harder than that bow, though. So I guess that's a thing.
The light sword that the Knight gets can swing so quickly that you can chase down enemies while attacking them, which is really handy.
Yeah. It's like the Chrysogrim from Symphony of the Night is what I was saying, because it's really good. But you do require it. If you have any of the other swords, you're miserable. They're all bad. Yeah.
And unfortunately, if you don't get the good fortune to get that sword, you're not guaranteed to get it until the very, floor 15, I think, is when the fighter NPC that gives you your best weapon shows up.
Yeah, you'll get it then, because there's a guaranteed warp scroll on that floor, even if you don't make your own. So you're gonna get your best weapon at some point, unless you screw up.
15 force is a long time to wait without it.
Yeah, it's really lousy until then. You have a shield block that is bad, and you require a shield to do it, and you have a dumb charge attack move that smells, and you have a down stab that's actually really good though. The down stab is nice. You can use that to start the stun on the boss safely.
I will point out here that, you know, I just made a comment about, like, one good fighter run definitely beats one good archer run. But, you know, we look at the times of the two people who have completed so far, and Eric's finished with Archer in 17, and Glumbaron finished with Fighter in 25. So, you know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Archer actually still has the edge, even in just a one attempt.
I think Archer has a really strong start, and that matters a lot. Eric's never really used the longbow until floor 20 either. They didn't really get good luck on it. I would say if you don't have the longbow, you had bad luck. Because you had the only bit of luck that matters is that you did not get the longbow. That's the one that you want, as far as I can tell.
Gaffadil's putting the time in. We've been on this fight for a long time. That's not a comment about Gaffadil. That's a comment about the damage sponge that this boss is.
Yeah, too much armor, too much health. Warlock's not messing around.
I mean, this boss is very clearly designed to punish you if you didn't level up enough. Because there's really nothing else in the game that forces you to level up. There's a few enemies that are kind of tough to beat without leveling up, and the optional bosses are huge damage sponges as well. But this is basically, it feels like it's just here to say, sorry you didn't level up, I don't think you're going to have a good time. I think despite not being ideal for a speedrun, the Knight is probably one of the more interesting classes. Like, it has so much variance to it, and you have to be a little more strategic because he's not a particularly fast class, and he's not remarkably strong.
That's a lot of moves.
But for the purpose of a speedrun, yeah, I think it's ultimately a waste. I think maybe Wizard still has some merit to it, but Wizard, unfortunately, you really have to get good at using the spells appropriately, and you have to have some decent luck for that to be an effective choice.
I would not be surprised if the Wizard won.
You think so? I was gonna say that I think the 31st is gonna be all archers and fighters.
And Gaffadil's done it. Yeah, the Wizard's just so... If the Wizard were here on floor 20, which, you know, it's not... It took 36 minutes for Gaffadil to win. It would not take the Wizard 36 minutes to get there, for one thing. If they're getting there in 20. And if they get to the final boss, the boss doesn't exist. It's over. They are not going to run into this one damage problem. They will absolutely clobber that boss.
Yeah, so the heartbreaking thing here is Moonberry played incredibly well, and just really got pretty unfortunate against the final boss. They had one good run early, that they lost, and then they had another good run that got to the boss before they ran out of resources and health. So it's just there's a lot. It's kind of heartbreaking. This game can fall apart so quickly, but it really does.
Yep. I was reading about how the key drop worked. It's usually off the stronger enemies, but it's still randomized, I think. You
Yeah,
never
the
know.
floors that have certain strong enemies, those are the enemies that are guaranteed to be holding the key.
Yeah,
But
unique ones.
there's like a handful of like I don't know, like half of the floors. Someone can tell me what the actual fraction is.
Oh
It
no!
seems like, oh god,
It's raining golems.
oh man, that's heartbreaking.
Well, this was as fun a race as I thought it would be. I'm looking forward to the 31st. We're going to have $100 on the line for the first place, and I have no idea how that's going to go. It's going to put a lot of tension on this, I think, because this is a dangerous game. You can get golems falling on your head when a good run turns bad real quick. It's Moonberry.
Moonberry's taking the DNF. Honestly, 3 really good, well-played runs, despite getting pretty rough RNG each time. So, good on Moonberry. Even with the DNF, they played fantastically, and our other 3 players did finish. Gaffadil punching indefinitely, but they all did finish.
Yeah, I'm gonna check out some damage numbers, see if we can't figure out exactly what the archer needs to do. That's what I would be doing, the archer, but I can definitely see the fighter working, because the fighter's a lot of fun and very fast. I think if you can learn the stun lock, the fighter is really, I mean, that's the move. The fighter needs to know how to do that, and to do that you're gonna need to find one of the bracelets. You're guaranteed to get the bracelet on floor 15, and you don't really need it until then, but it's nice to have, but you don't need it. I keep saying that about the fighter. They don't really need anything, and neither does the archer. Not really.
Yeah, they both hold up well. You're really gonna want your best weapon before the final boss for fighter, just so you can lock them up. But yeah, they both hold their own. They're both good early game classes, and they scale well to the end.
If you need an image host from, I'm happy to provide one for you. No problem. If you want to use my server, I don't care. I mean, I'm happy to do that if it's helpful. I don't know if I have a good host for that or not. I might. But thanks for the art. I'll retweet that as well. So yeah, next week we're let me see, what are we up to? On the 31st we're doing the big race, so that's when that is. So we have 2 races until then. We have probably gonna watch the world record on one of these weeks, and on the other one we'll do versus mode and co-op runs.
Yeah.
Maybe we can mix those in with the world record viewing, because the world record's not going to be very long. Maybe we can watch 2 world records, one for each class, because they're different. They're completely different, and they're both around 15 minutes now. Like 1541 with Wizard, Darkman has that, and the Archer's something like 18 minutes, and there's another one with an Archer at 20. Archer consistently knocking those out in the 20-ish. I think I had 25 minutes with the Archer as my best time so far, and the Fighter was right there too. I'm using the in-game clock though. I don't know if it's accurate. Maybe it's not.
I think it's been pretty faithful. Everyone's kind of using it to measure their runs, and I think that's reasonable. Not looking forward to 2 people tying down to the second and having to actually figure out which one's faster.
Well, that's Magic Castle. If you're interested in joining us, this game is free. It's up there. It's a PlayStation 1 game, and you can find out more at speedbump.run. We also have the Twitter open. The Speedbump Show. That's let me link that too. If you want updates, that's a good place to go to. We're gonna announce things on the website and there. What's going on? You'll find that information there.
Yep.
That's all we got for you. Thanks for joining me, Alpha Blues.
Of course. Take care, everyone.
See you later, everybody.